Okay, so I'm going to start drawing a rook, and I'm going to talk you through it, and I'm going to draw and talk as I go. So I'll basically just try and get an outline first of all with the pencil. Now, if you haven't really drawn birds much before, I do suggest that you have a little practice. They're not the easiest thing to draw. I've just found a photograph on Google. There we are. So this is a rook. And I'm not pressing too hard when I use the pencil. There we are. That comes down like that. There we are. Some feet. And the rook is going to be on something here. Right, so it's not a fantastic beat to start with. I'm not happy with that, but that doesn't really matter at the moment. I'll fiddle about with that in a minute. There we are. So, next step is just going to drag you down a bit, birdie. So it's in the frame. There we are. Focus. There we are. So I'm just putting water. This I find the fun bit. I really do. I'll put something there. I'll just add something on there. There we are. So I've put water on. Now I'm going to get my Daler Rowney inks I use, as well as Liquitex. I've been using them for probably about 20 years. I just really enjoy them. This is what I love. This. It's fantastic. Now the colour that I use is Payne's Grey. And it's actually one of my favourite colours with these inks. Now what I want to do, I wanted to get some sort of fluffy here if I can, little fluffy. You kind of have to play around a bit, but it's really good fun. And oftentimes what seems to happen with these inks is that you find that things happen by accident. So sometimes when you try and do it, it doesn't always work. So there we are. So don't worry too much about the eye part at the moment. We'll figure that out in a minute. Right, a bit more. There we are. So, what next? Just going to dab it a little bit here, because I don't want it quite so dark. They take shape pretty quickly, really, because of the nature of the way that I draw, I suppose. I've had a lot of practice at drawing, and I started off doing lots of still lifes, and then I started getting my own style. So I've done a lot of drawing, a lot of observation. Observation is key with drawing if you want to get good at drawing. This brush isn't doing it for me here. Very well. I'm going to sort that out with my pen afterwards, because this brush isn't what I need right now. So I don't really mind if I have pencil lines. Doesn't really bother me, but I tend to, as you can see, be able to get rid of them with the ink on top, because obviously the ink is that much darker than the pencil, so you can't see. But I'm not really that bothered about hiding pencil lines, and generally with other drawings I don't tend to draw pencil lines anymore. I just go straight for it with the ink, but with the birds I like to have some structure, and I want to get the shape as I want it, so I do use pencil when I paint birds. But other than that, with my flowers and roses and butterflies and things, I pretty much go straight to the pen really. But each their own. Right, so I'm just gonna, might add a little bit more water. Sometimes if you put the water on, it can obviously get evaporate slightly. So just gonna pick you up. There we are. There we are. Gorgeous. I just love these inks for this. I love it. Cover that bit up there. There we are. Just going to grab my salt. I am going to put some salt on here. I love the texture that you get with salt. Once you've finished your painting, when it's all dry, then you can gently rub the salt off. And so I've used rock salt, and it just the texture is more noticeable, shall we say, the texture, because when you've got table salt, finer granules, it doesn't show up as well. But what have you got? It's fun to experiment. Yeah. So it's quite nice. It sort of looks a bit mossy, doesn't it? So I rather like that. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my pen. So I use Uniball fine liners. I really like these ones. So I'm going to move my inks out of the way and let's give this a go with the beak. Concentrating hard. There we are. See, sometimes I just find it easier just to get going with a pen, because sometimes I find, I suppose it is about having a little bit more control. If you've got a nice fine brush, it's fine. You've got enough control. There we are. So I'll just move the bed up. So I'm just going to add more here. I just like to, my preference is this at the moment. I quite like working like this. I quite like working with the pen as well. It just, for me, I like it. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to use my white ink. I just use, again, I use Data Brownie. And I do use my fingers. There we are. Just kind of go in the shape. This is a bit thick, this one. There we are, do some lines. Lines down like that. There we are. There we are. So yes, this painting I've painted as landscape, so it's on its side. But sometimes I paint portrait. Let's run the other way. Let's have a look at this. Paint a bit here, beak. There we go. Add a bit like feather type things, basically. There we go, some lines. So I'm just going to do a little bit more. And I mean, I do tend to just go straight ahead with the pen. I don't really mind. I could wait for it to dry, but I'm a little bit impatient, shall we say. I just like to get on and do it. But by all means, we'll wait for it to dry a little bit if you feel happy doing that. Sometimes the pen won't work properly if it's too wet. So do as you wish, but just I think I might add a bit more. alter that. Feather shapes. It's really good to observe your photograph, your whatever it is you've got in front of you, to really observe and have a look at the shapes and have a look at how they work with each other, as in next to each other. So you know, you've got really dark here and then you've got some lighter, so that you've got the contrast. Contrast is important, so that you can make out what you've drawn, as it were. I might add a bit. Yeah, I don't usually do this, but that works. It's all right. I'll let it dry a bit and I'll figure that one out. Slightly thick, I don't like that line so much, so I'm going to make the lines a bit thinner. There we are, a bit more highlighting. Sort of dab it with my fingernail, like that. There we are. So, just going to dip my brush in, and you can see you use one finger and you gently, you see, and with this kind of thing you do need to practice, because it takes a bit of practice. It might not look like it, but for it to look random, you need a bit of practice. You don't want to be going all one way, so when you're doing it, you don't want to just do a series like that. You want to do it this way, that way, all round really. Does that make sense? There we are, job done. Raven.